You're listening to Flying Casual, a Star Wars podcast. Here's your host, Michael Canterbury.
Whew. I have spoken. Probably the three most popular words in Star Wars at the moment. Are we all in agreement on that? I mean, it's up there with May the Force be with you right now.
Yeah.
I mean, right? I have spoken.
I mean, I think it's all over the internet.
It's all over the internet. If you haven't watched The Mandalorian, then that's a spoiler. The fact that I just said Ugnaught is a spoiler. The fact that there is a Baby Yoda in The Mandalorian
Major spoiler.
is a major spoiler. But I'm sorry. We've already had 2 episodes now, or 1 episode about The Mandalorian now. So if you're coming in hot at episode 10 of Flying Casual, well, then I don't know how to help you.
Also, I thought we were calling him Green Bean.
Green Bean. That's the code name.
Code name.
Code
Green
name
Bean.
is Green Bean. Green Bean. That is a go. Green Bean is actually a safe word here on Flying Casual. If you ever feel, like things aren't going well, just say Green Bean. So the fact that we're calling Baby Yoda Green Bean is problematic. So we need a new safe word, like watermelon or something.
Sure, watermelon.
Wait, so you're telling me that something you're in dire straits now, or was that a test?
No.
Okay. Luke, did we ever get a safe word for you?
Mine's sassafras.
That's one.
Sassafras.
It's a lot to get out, though. I should probably shorten that.
I have spoken used to be mine, but now that's
like a safe
taken.
Phrase.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
If you have time to
that's absolutely
you can't
proper.
be in like
You're
too
right.
much danger if you have time to say something like sassafras. I've spoken.
Yeah, especially in the really calm, demeanor that the Ugnaught says it in. Or what's his name? Do you guys remember what his name is?
Wheel?
Wheel?
Cool.
Quill.
If we're saying it wrong, someone can correct us,
They
but
can
I think
correct
that
us.
we are right.
Absolutely. Folks, welcome to episode 10 of Flying Casual. Gonna be a Mandalorian heavy to a point with that. That's probably all we'll talk about on this episode, right? Episode 2 of The Mandalorian. The Child. Chapter 2.
The Child.
I thought all the other podcasters were calling it Chapter, and then I realized after watching Chapter 2 that they're calling them Chapter 2.
It is Chapter 2.
Not Episode 2.
And it's last episode, we didn't get like a title to it. It was just like Chapter 1.
The Mandalorian Chapter 1. Yeah. No, I agree. So got Holly here, mixed a nice margarita for this episode. So Luke, you may be just taking the reins. Sassafras. You might be taking the reins on this one. I may just black out depending on how much tequila is in here. I don't know, but really late night here on Flying Casual. If we're having tequila at nearly 10 p.m. That means just getting ready to relax for the work.
Anything could happen.
Absolutely. Luke, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing swell.
Got to watch chapter 2 of the Mandalorian, right?
Yeah, and when Kaz has hit his head a lot.
Wow.
But when he ran into that Amazon tribal woman, I thought she was going to kill him. She was so annoyed by him.
You must be speaking of Resistance, which I am also behind on. Can you imagine that? Now that The Mandalorian came out, I've fallen off of the face of the earth with Resistance. But you, my friend.
I did my classic. I did watch today's episode a little bit ago, doing some dishes. And it was actually one of the better ones of the season so far.
So let's actually spend 5 minutes talking about it, because you said the last episode too also wasn't bad at all, right?
Well, I can't remember when we last talked about it, but there's been some bad.
Oh no!
There was like a Zillow Beast ripoff. If you remember the Zillow Beast from Clone Wars,
yeah,
there was like a Zillow Beast ripoff. The episode before this, I didn't even finish. I got so bored with. But this most latest one was pretty good. But no, it's been all Mandalorian. I've watched each chapter at least twice.
Yeah, same. We've done that too.
You almost have to, because it goes by so fast. And like I told everyone in the live cast, like I read lips, and so I got to go back and watch it again just to know what the hell everyone said the first time around. Because I'm just like, oh yeah, that's cool, Jawas and stuff. But I had no idea. I mean, not that I understood what the Jawas were saying. I mean, did you guys speak Jawa?
There were subtitles. for the Jawas.
Okay, we're there. Did I miss that too?
There were very few words
yeah.
in this episode that weren't spoken in Jawaese, really.
Yeah. I think actually the first 10 minutes of the show didn't have any basic and or English, whatever you want to call it. I don't think, other than a couple grunts by the Mandalorian, I don't think he really said much, right?
Or heavy sighs.
Yeah.
Very little dialogue in the whole episode.
Yeah, I think Luke is right. I think the Jawas had more dialogue than anybody else.
Seriously. Yeah, no, you're right. They did have subtitles now, I recall, because they said you speak terrible Jawa.
Only some of them had subtitles, so not all of them.
Well, because half the time they're just saying ooh dee dee, and we we don't know really what they're saying.
I think that was a Jawa.
We're gonna work on our Jawa.
But interestingly enough, the Mandalorian could speak a little Jawa.
He could.
That was surprising.
I thought that was a pretty interesting detail. But but then again, like if you think about Episode 4 or the original Star Wars, I mean the Jawas are junk traders pretty much, So they're going out and trying to sell stuff. Or trade or whatever it is they're doing, but pretty much I don't think I guess they're trading. They were bartering here in this episode.
They sure were.
But I mean, Luke speaks Jawa, right?
Fluently.
Uncle Owen. Right?
Oh, not me. You mean Luke Skywalker?
Well, Luke. Now we know Luke Elder does too.
I thought that's what you were saying.
See, now we need a code name for Luke because we're gonna get confused because I call him Luke. His full name is Lucas. But I'm sorry, Luke,
didn't we do code names the last time we all podcasted?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh yeah, you can call me. What am I? Eldas.
Eldas.
Yeah. There you go.
Jeez, I don't even remember our characters very well, other than the Hutt Jedi Walho.
Listen,
that was one of the best things
I
ever.
Googled it, and that apparently is a real thing.
No, you nailed it. I mean, not Walho, but
no, I
Hutt
jacked
Jedi,
that all up.
A Hutt Jedi.
I can't follow
is.
directions.
Well, you would have been Wally if you actually had gotten it right. Which is it's already taken. All right, everyone would just be picturing you as that little robot. We'll call him a droid because this is a Star Wars podcast. But who knows? Maybe Wally. I mean, he's part of the Pixar family, right? Maybe.
I mean, he kind of looked like BD1, right?
He might be a part of the Star Wars universe. I mean, E.T. is. So
yeah.
Who knows? But so Luke enjoyed the last couple episodes of Resistance. It's actually funny. Maybe we just won't even talk about Mandalorian, and this is just a Resistance
only
recap, and all of our listeners will be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Surprise and no spoilers, except for Resistance.
Yeah, we'll spoil the hell out of Resistance. At least Luke will. I haven't watched the last 2 episodes, but Luke. So let's. Actually, I'm going to start with you because we didn't really get your thoughts on Episode 1, the titleless, chapter of The Mandalorian. What'd you think generally, man?
Yeah, Episode 1 really wet the whistle nicely.
Yeah, right.
Set the tone, I think, for the series. Give you, the lay of the land a little bit about what we're dealing with, and just dove right into the adventure from here on out, I'd say.
Yeah.
I know you guys talked about it. I listened back to the episode from the other night to catch up with you all. And, I was thinking a lot of the same things as you are. Was really shocked to see other Mandalorians beside himself. Yeah. I thought we're not going to see any others. He's like this loner dude. But no, there's a little tribe that he touches base with, and an armorer that hooks him up with, new armor plates and things like that. So that was a real shocker for me.
Yeah.
I think most of the rest, other than the ending shock of the Baby Yoda, I've heard some people use the term yodeling, which seems like an easy one.
Yodeling.
Yeah.
Yodeling.
Like
that happened live.
I saw
that was
online.
Organic.
I saw. Yeah.
Probably just blew everyone's ears out. But
yeah, they stopped listening.
Well, I think they stopped listening 5 minutes ago, but
when we said
okay.
Yeah, I saw online that people are thinking that the Baby Yoda or Little Green Bean's name is Yeatle.
Yeatle. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think they're just taking Yaddle and changing it slightly. I don't buy it.
I mean, I don't know.
Nah. No, you do?
I have anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
That's right.
I mean, Luke, you mentioned, were there any other really shocking moments? Because, like you said, that Mandalorian kind of hideout they had was a huge surprise. I mean, the Yoda thing blew us all out of the water, but the fact that, they appear to be, grooming, younglings, or they call them, what they call them, foundlings or something
Foundlings,
like that.
yes.
To bring back Mandalore maybe, or at least a specific house or something like
or
that.
the culture.
Yeah, that was insanely shocking. Anything else really stick out to you about that episode? I mean, I guess the briefness of the episode, was it 39 minutes? Wasn't expecting that.
No, I mean that didn't bother me at all. You know, if it's paced well and it moves, you know, I don't need filler. If it's going to be 8 episodes and they're all under 40 minutes, but they're all, you know, nothing you would take for granted.
Yeah.
Then, you know, so be it, and I think that'll work out well.
Yeah.
I think the whole foundling thing, I think, is really going to play heavy here. I think we're going to get sort of snippets of flashback and backstory throughout the series. And I was a little surprised there were none in this latest episode. I thought we'd get like at least a little every single week, every single episode. And there were those times where in episode 2, where he like gets knocked out or starts to black out and gets fuzzy vision. I thought it was gonna transition into a flashback to get more of the backstory. Like
that's exactly what I thought.
You know. But we didn't get that this time. But we got a little bit of that last time. I think our Mandalorian's probably going to end up being a foundling. And I'm assuming that they take in these foundlings now because, you know, they were decimated after the Clone Wars and the Empire.
Yeah.
What do they call it? The Armorer uses some term like the Purge or something.
The Purge, yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So something went down, and now there's these factions scattered around that are kind of rebuilding through, like taking in orphans, I'm guessing. So I'm assuming that's what our Mando is, and we'll see how he came to be an orphan through these additional flashbacks.
So question, do you think that he's actually from Mandalore, like a true Mandalorian?
Well, let's not get...
That's a deep question.
It is a deep question.
Yeah.
Let's not throwing around racial terms here. But yeah, I'm guessing not a true Mandalorian, but I don't, you know, being from the planet Mandalore, but I don't know how much that makes you a Mandalorian per se. Like going back, they had like colonized different areas and were kind of a little spread out too. So
yeah,
I don't think you have to be from the planet Mandalorian to be a Mandalore to be a Mandalorian, but I think it's a lot more just about your way of life and your armor and everything.
Yeah, there was a lot of difference of opinion during the live chat about that.
Yeah.
About like Boba Fett and Jango Fett and now our new Mandalorian. So
what's going to be really interesting, I don't know how much we're going to get into Mandalore itself, like we're talking about the planet. Because if you go back to Clone Wars and Rebels, like the planet is essentially decimated. There's these, I don't know, what would you call them, Luke? Like globe city biodomes, yeah, that they live in. I mean, but when they talk about a purge, there could be some a gap in time between Rebels where we see the Darksaber reunited, and they're under kind of one leader, we assume, kind of these different houses, but there's some time that something could have happened, that the Empire actually could have came in and decimated all that they'd, really built. So it may be interesting now if you have, Mandalore itself is forgotten, but Mandalore lives in these houses that they're almost regenerating off world. It may be interesting you'll still have those power struggles, but maybe not, civil war on Mandalore. That may be something interesting. I don't know. We may Mandalore itself may come in a season 2. I don't know. Yeah. That might be a lot. What do we have? Like 6 more episodes or something? Was it like an 8 episode season? Luke, do you remember that? Yeah. So
it should be 8 episodes, so 6 to go.
So the way they're moving, I mean, this episode, we'll just get into episode 2 here. The child picked up right where, the first one left off. We got the Mandalorian. If I could remember what Pedro Pascal said in a video when he spoiled the name for his character, I can't remember what it was. Jen something or other, something Jensen or Jansen. I don't remember. Holly, you can fact check me there on that.
I'll look it up.
But walking through with, what were we calling it? Yodeling.
Green bean.
The green bean. Sassafras, whatever we want to call him. Kind of floating along there, and this was something really interesting. I mean, he gets attacked by Transdoshans. What I didn't notice the first time watching it were the Transdoshans seemingly jumping over that little valley, that little crack there that he's walking through, and then you can see the reflection of their shadows like in his helmet and stuff. So I kind of knew he was going to be attacked, but those are little details that I missed, and there's lots of little details. That's the great thing about this, being a streaming show, is you can go back and watch as much as you want.
It's so well done.
So well done.
Oh,
absolutely.
Our Mandalorian's name is Din Djarin.
Din Djarin. I knew it was something about that. So he gets attacked by the Transdoshans, and he handles them, right? Pretty easily, but he takes a beating. His blaster, though, can we talk about the blaster? Took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting to see something of
disintegrate.
Just gone, just evaporated. Was that Luke? Is that Star Wars lore? Am I missing? I know Sabine had some sort of power that she had created for the Empire that was something similar. Destroyed, it had a lot of power and destroyed, Beskar armor. But have we seen anyone evaporated like that? And I don't know that we have.
It's got to go all the way back to little Johnny Favreau as a boy watching Empire Strikes Back, and Vader looks over at Boba Fett and says, "No disintegration."
No disintegration.
So Favreau is wondering, he can disintegrate people, and so let's make him do that in the show.
Or thinking back to Obi-Wan just disappearing, right? I just want to see the robes fall. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
That's the shocking part about this gun, is it somehow has its effect only on the flesh, because you see the people, or not the people, but the the Trandoshan, and then we'll get into the others later.
Yeah,
their clothes stay after they've been disintegrated.
They do, and he even shoots objects. He shot at the crawler, and they're like ping, it didn't dissipate that. It didn't put a hole in it, but that's something to do with it's hitting some organic matter that it disappears.
It's like it's a setting.
Maybe he's putting them in some, like, I don't know, some other world or something. I don't know.
I think he's just particleizing them, and that's it.
As far as I know, that's not technology we've ever seen. And then the rifle itself looks like something out of 1865. Like it looks like a musket. With the bayonet, the stun bayonet on the end of it, but it looks antique, straight from the holiday special. So it's that old. So he takes a beating from them, right? Though his armor's getting shattered, and then I believe he goes and sets up camp, right, Holly, with Baby Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's trying to fix himself. And wait, what does Baby Yoda do?
Oh, it's like the best part. Baby Yoda understands what is happening.
Yep.
And that little green bean tries to get up and heal him.
He sounds like a baby, though,
Yeah,
right?
he does.
Walks like a baby. He sounds like a baby. Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of strange.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He tries to heal him, and then
we assume he is, right? He closes his eyes, puts his hands up to his
Well,
arm.
also he looks really concerned.
Yeah.
He looks very worried.
He does.
But then he gets shut in his little basket.
He shuts him in there, but he
locks him up.
There was some empathy there for, getting him out. I mean, he doesn't know this guy. He knows that one he took him from where he was being, we think, held captive. And I don't know if this thing was actually being held captive or if they were trying to get it to somewhere else. But I mean, he's pretty mobile for being a 50-year-old baby, and we know now having the Force, but he's pretty mobile. So the fact that he was just kind of locked in this, maybe he was locked in that thing and he couldn't get out. But there's I don't know, there's some good feelings there towards the Mandalorian after that Transdoshan about, just cut him right in half or whatever. He got zapped. But so he looks at the Mandalorian like he's, with some sort of, I don't know. I wouldn't call him like he thinks he's his parent, but
he trusts him.
His guardian. He trusts him.
He trusts him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're there at camp. We're fixing armor, and next morning we show up. We try to show up to the ship to escape, maybe collect that bounty, and we got Jawas, which was amazing. But the Mandalorian starts opening fire on the Jawas, right? Like he's picking them off. They're just disappearing. Robes are flying everywhere. I mean, Luke, were you surprised like I was that he's just, opening fire on these Jawas? I mean, I understand he wants his ship back, but he's just opening up on them, right?
Mike, let me take you through my emotional state during this thing, man. When he first sort of crests that hill and looks down in the canyon valley, and the little Jawas are running around stripping the ship, and the sand crawler sitting there in all its glory.
Yeah.
I had a little kind of eye roll, like, Jawas, is this just like maybe going to be too heavy of a forced sort of nostalgic play here?
Yeah.
And then in a moment when he starts wasting them with the disintegrator, my eye roll turns to horror at the little dudes getting it. And I just couldn't believe it was one after the other. He took out like 3 or 4 of them.
He did.
Really fast. And gosh, that just really set the whole rest of the episode into this just incredible experience I can't recall having with many other things. I was squealing and giggling like my toddler.
Yeah.
It was just incredible. The humor throughout the episode, everything with the Jawas, I absolutely loved. You're kind of jumping ahead a little bit when he when he goes to barter with them, and they start making fun of the way he talks when he does start to talk in their language.
Yeah.
They say that he speaks
Terrible.
Jawa like a Wookiee.
Like a Wookiee. Yeah, I was like, oh gosh, here we go.
Give him with the flamethrower because he.
What does he
with
say?
The flamethrower a little bit because he was so annoyed that they were making fun of him.
He's like, do you understand this?
Yeah, and he tries to light him up. But you're right, though, because there's these moments where you're like, I love the nostalgia. I love, that they're bringing it in. But it's sometimes, you see all those Jawas and the Sandcrawler. You're like, okay, another reference. Okay, I get it. But then something you don't expect. Same thing with the Jawa speaking there, and like, oh, you sound like a Wookiee. You're like, oh, yeah. And then flamethrower tries to light them all up, and I'm just like, wow. Like, there's moments also when the Mandalorian he's not as cool, calm, and collected as we all kind of maybe thought, like Pedro Pascal would be in this character that he has been in prior characters. He has his faults, and they come out, and that's where really the humor is, and I can definitely appreciate that. So yeah, he taking out Jawas like crazy, and I was like, oh, because you have a feeling that at some point Baby Yoda or Green Bean or Sassafras is going to intervene, right? Like you feel like, okay, he feels some sort of appreciation for life. I thought maybe he was going to stop him or something in that moment, but he lets it happen, right? And then the Jawas pack up shop, hop in their crawler, and take off. And he goes on a dead sprint after him. I'm like, wow, we are just, is Baby Yoda following him? Like, and apparently he's got like a tracker on him that just follows him everywhere.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I didn't understand what was happening at first, and I was like, so why is he just following him?
Yeah.
But then, like, you see him like later in the episode, like move his arm and it like controls.
It's something on his glove or his gauntlet or something that does that. But so that whole sand crawler scene at first, the first time I watched it, I kind of thought it dragged on a little much, him getting up the side of it and stuff. But the second time I really appreciated it more. And when he's throwing Jawas from the crawler,
the Jawa murder continues.
Right? But you can tell like whatever it was they were using were very thin, doubles, and he would toss them, and it was almost just like a robe was going, and then they just disappeared. They didn't hit any. It just disappeared. So as violent as it's been, it's definitely there's not any real gore, at least that I've really noticed. But so you're like this. The Mandalorian has his issues, but he's going to go own these Jawas, right? Like, they're no match for him. He'll find a way into the Sandcrawler. He gets up to the top of the thing, and there's a dozen of them with their stun blasters aimed at him, and he's just like, oh, crap.
Down he goes,
which was hysterical. And then from that point, the Sandcrawler's gone, and he's got I think he seeks out his Ugnaught friend, right? What's the friend's name again? Kuil. He seeks him out, right? Because he really doesn't know who to go to in this moment, and his friend, says we'll barter with him, we'll trade for it, and they go to do it, and you play out that. I love that. I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but when they go to barter with the Jawas, everyone sits down. it's almost just like a sign of respect. Hey, we're gonna do this here on the ground. We're all gonna be on the same level here.
You might get shot with fire. You just don't know what's gonna happen.
You might get a little toasted, but so that was fantastic. And they try to barter with him. He doesn't have much to offer. He's not gonna let him have Baby Yoda. But they start talking about this egg. Well, you bring us the egg. Soka. So you hear Jawa starting to chant, which is fantastic. Are you noticing? This is something that I just picked up kind of in my mind. All the Jawas have red eyes in this episode, correct? Like every Jawa we've seen in the show has red eyes.
Red eyes.
But the other Jawas we saw on a different planet didn't they have
yellow?
like a yellow?
Yeah.
So I think
originally.
Right? They think they refer to these as off-world Jawas. At least that's what my Black Series figure says.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't even know really where the Jawa homeworld is, but
we don't even know. Do we know where we are right now?
I think they're pretty hush-hush about where we are.
We don't
right
know.
Now.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it's not Tatooine because there was that torrential downpour in the night shot of them going on their way to meet the Jawas.
Yeah.
And there's all the mud where the final fight with the beast takes place. So this is a planet with more water than we've ever seen on Tatooine, I think. So I think it's safe to say we're not on Tatooine unless the environment has changed on Tatooine since the last time we saw it. But.
So, I mean, is business good then for the moisture farmers, or are they just non-existent? It seems like a pretty, desert planet.
Wasn't Kuil a farmer? And
was
then he
I have no idea.
Got out of that?
I don't know. But that's his valley, and he's thankful the Mandalorians brought peace to it. Well, that's towards the end. But so they demanded the egg. Bring us the egg. What the hell's the egg? I thought they were talking about the
what they have Yoda in.
What little baby Yoda was in.
I
was
too
like,
at first.
give him the damn thing and carry him. Put him on his shoulder or his back like Luke did.
Except they had gone near him before, and he was like, Get away from him.
Yeah, but I thought maybe they wanted the technology or something with it.
Can you imagine a little Jawa sitting in that instead of
that actually be pretty hilarious. See one of those guys, their robes flying. That would be great. Yeah. But no, they wanted the egg. So we find our protagonist, the Mandalorian, going to seek the egg in a dark cave.
A small cave.
It was for the size
of
that
what
beast.
Was in there?
Yeah.
But before we get to the cave itself, we were talking how there's not much dialogue in this episode, but there are so many like brilliant comedic shots without you don't need words to understand what's going on.
Yeah. And
when the Jawas first start chanting the egg, Soka. And the Mandalorian doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Kuil's his guide there, and you can see the actor who plays the Ugnaught. I know it's not Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte does the voice, but there's like a smaller person who's actually, the physical image of the character, and it puts its head in its hands and like it knows about the egg, and it knows that these Jawas must have some kind of obsession with it.
Oh God.
That obviously he thinks is unwarranted, and he just kind of buries his head in his hands when that's what their demand is. And the very next shot, you could still hear some of the chanting, is the Mandalorian crouched inside the cockpit of the sandcrawler, and it just burst out laughing.
That's right. I forgot about that.
It's such an amazing image, and it's just a second or two, a couple second image of him sitting there as they're cruising in the sandcrawler, going for the Suka.
Did they like hit a bump or something too? And he smacks his head on the top.
I totally forgot about that.
At the end of that shot, he turns to the Jawa next to him, and the Jawa next to him just goes, Suka.
They're hell-bent on getting that thing. That sand crawler is going, just ramping over hills. And
see it catch some air like Mad Max.
I forgot about that moment. Like, it's such a good moment because you don't realize how much you wanted to know or see in the sand crawler. It takes me back to seeing, the sand crawler for the first time and being like, what a sick vehicle. Like, that's something we've never, there's Legos of it and stuff, but they've never really had a movie that's really touched more on it either. In the prequels, they just show, Anakin going and seeking information from the Jawas. You see it kind of at night. But, I mean, these things are huge. They call it a fortress. They're a mobile fortress. I think that's what they call it, right?
Also, I didn't realize that either until we watched it for the second time. Because when they go to barter with them and they come up and they're all, like, pulling stuff out of the sandcrawler and they have, like, I don't know, it looks like a little marketplace. Like, they're just, like, going through their inventory. And I was like, how do they fit all that in there? Like, it's right before the Mandalorian and Kuil come up. I don't know. There's just, like, so much stuff that they had around. I was like, all of that, like, fit. It's like a little village inside of this. Yeah.
Luke, did you find yourself ever wanting to be kind of on the inside of a crawler? Does C-3PO, do we ever see C-3PO inside one? I'm missing that. That's something else.
As you're talking about it, I'm thinking of it. I never spent too much time wondering about the insides of the sandcrawler, but we do see it in A New Hope. But the cinematography of it is all really dark. There's not a lot of lighting in it. It's when it's the scene after we see R2 get picked up by the Jawas, and he comes to, because they had kind of stunned him or whatever. He comes to in the like droid hold of the sandcrawler.
Right.
It's super dark. You can't see a ton, but you see like kind of a bunch of droids floating around, and then he gets reunited with C-3PO.
That's right.
Who's already there.
I think we see the Gonk droid getting tortured. Is that when he was getting branded?
No, you're thinking ahead to Jabba's palace.
That was Jabba's palace. That's right. I'm getting them all.
And none of the droids in A New Hope in this sandcrawler are getting tortured.
That's right.
Yeah, they're just all like in a little hold together.
That's
all the droids get stashed.
That's right. I definitely need to go back and watch the original trilogy.
So the interior design of the sandcrawler was all written for the Mandalorian.
I mean, as much as we saw, but like, all the windows on the side, and they almost have a little hangout going on top of it too. They've got covers and little cabana things, and I don't know. It was just really fascinating to me, and to see the kind of the driver's seat there, and I don't know. I just thought it was kind of cool, because I've always kind of been like, that's such a cool thing. Like, we should see more of that, and we finally did, so which was awesome. But they the Mandalorian's going to seek the egg, and he gets into that cave and comes across the beast. We've seen something similar to this in the prequels, right? It was kind of a nice nod to the prequel. I don't think it was the same.
It was not.
Beast, but it was similar, right? Had a huge horn though.
This one's called a mudhorn.
A mudhorn.
It has a name.
What was the other one? I can't remember what the prequel one was.
Luke.
Luke, do you remember what that prequel beast was called?
I think it was a reek.
Reek.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
There's 3 of those Geonosian beasts. The one's an Acklay, a reek, and I don't remember all of them.
Yeah. Well, it was really funny, because he sees the eye open, right? He's got a light on his helmet. He sees the eye open, and all of a sudden the shot is outside the cave.
Oh, hilarious!
With Baby Yoda, and you just hear his pistol blaster going off. Now, I felt like this was kind of a missed opportunity. I was hoping the Mandalorian was going to just start hightailing it out of that cave, just like shooting his blaster from behind, almost kind of like Han running out of a cave or something like that. But he gets bucked and just like clear out of the cave, right into a mud pit, which was also awesome. But it was funny, but I wanted them to continue with the humor and see him take off and maybe even get kind of bumped there.
I guess it depends on what kind of humor you were looking for.
Yeah, I didn't write the show, so I guess I should just keep my wishes to myself. But so he gets knocked out by this thing. He gets hit a couple times by it, and you could just
hard hits.
The music picks up. You can see Green Bean growing increasingly concerned.
Can we talk about the music for a second, real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. I was gonna do the same thing,
because that music is intense. At first, I think it's the actual sound that the mudhorn is made. Like, at first, I was like, is that creature that makes that sound?
Yeah.
I think Michael was like, no, that's the music.
It's creepy.
It's terrifying.
It is. But they're balancing it there with comedic moments too, and it's working for me. I don't know. It's not Star Wars, but it's becoming Star Wars. I don't know. It's really great. Luke, what did you have to say on it?
Yeah, I love that Holly brought up the music because that exact moment made me want to talk about just the music in general too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like it sounds like a water pump or something
Yeah,
going in that
Yeah.
moment
like a
when he gets
machine.
Yeah.
spit out. It's like it's really unique sound to hear
Yeah.
in a soundtrack, and just in general, the soundtrack has been incredible. I have been walking around for days just constantly humming the main theme
Let's
that
go.
plays over the end credits. I
Yeah.
love that song. I've been listening to it on Spotify. What's great on Spotify, they've posted 2 different albums, one for each episode, that
Nice.
are
That's
like
cool.
the full soundtrack for
Yeah.
both episodes. And yeah, that song, like sort of the main theme with the kind of recorder sound, and then it moves into the orchestral bit,
Yeah.
uh, with the percussion and everything is so catchy and intense, and just puts you right in this like westerny
Yes.
adventure
Yeah.
mood. There's part of it too that like almost reminds me of sort of like music you would hear in the Ewok movies too. So it's like it's
Yes.
got like
You're right.
makes you think of that, the dun 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 dun
Uh-huh.
dun.
Yeah.
It's like a
It
different kind of
sounds like,
callback.
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of calls back to maybe even like a series on TV you would see that would have kind of like really good music, but then the music was probably the best part of the show.
Yeah.
uh, so just the music in general has been really enjoyable and unique at times too, like that moment Holly called out.
It's almost as if Jon Favreau, he's picking up on visual, stimulus. It's gonna be like that's Star Wars, and then maybe even telling whoever's composing this music, like pick up on some of that Battle for Endor kind of theme, and grab it from elsewhere. You haven't heard any real like main themes from Star Wars, at least I haven't. It's all been they either picking from that kind of stuff or really just creating new stuff that works. It just fits, and the visual aspect with this new music, I don't know. It feels like Star Wars. I'm so down for it, but it is sometimes intense, and it's eerie. It's kind of
Yeah.
like what's gonna happen next.
Like that scene with the mud horn. I think like there were funny parts of that scene, and it set you up to think like, oh, like this is supposed to be funny, but then like they would
Yeah.
play that music, and I was like, why do I feel so anxious?
Yes.
Like I don't know, if they had picked any other like soundtrack or music to go with the show, it just wouldn't feel the same.
Yeah.
Like it's so perfect for what they're trying to do.
And it's something's building up too.
Mhm.
We know what this baby, this child, we'll call it the child. I mean, the damn show is called the child.
The child.
Call it the child. The child, we know what it's capable of. We just know it from knowing Yoda and Yaddle. We know what it's capable of. We see what it's attempted to do with him. So it's building up. You're like, it's coming, phrasing. But it's going to happen soon. And the Mandalorian is just taking a lick from this thing. I mean, his blaster fails, his armor's failing to a point where he's given up, and he pulls out his knife and he just holds it in front of him with this last final strike. And just like, wow, he that's it for him. And I mean that the moment that we were waiting for.
Yep.
Little baby green bean standing up, eyes closed, just in his Yoda-like garb, just stops this thing
With his little hands.
with his hands and lifts it. I mean, that's the kid knows what he's doing, and that's what's interesting. He's 50 years old. He still has these infant characteristics. He sounds like a little a newborn, but
He's powerful.
he knows. Yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. But I mean, it took a lot out of him, right? It knocked him out. And then the one issue I did have with this episode is that the Mandalorian just comes up and stabs with his his little knife right in the neck of this thing, and it just kills it instantly. I was like, what? Anyway, that's a little issue I had with it. But I was like, he puts up this huge fight, and then he just gives him one tiny little stab with a butter knife, and then he's dead.
A butter knife.
I don't know, unless maybe little baby Yoda did something and like I don't know, snapped his neck or something. But brutal, right?
Yeah.
Brutal. But so I mean, he's protecting the Mandalorian. maybe he's sensing the good in the Mandalorian. Maybe he knows the Mandalorian isn't going to give him up.
I mean, you would think that if he has the ability to be like this powerful and controlled with the Force already, this is just me, I would assume that he would also be able to sense some sort of character, you know. But I could be wrong. I don't know. It could just be that he feels some sort of gratitude for him, or he's the first person who seemed to be trying to actually protect him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So he's going with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, he takes baby green bean to the or he gets the egg, right? He takes the egg to the Jawas, and those damn things slice that thing open.
That is the
and
grossest.
about 12 of them just go around the thing and just start eating the yolk, and it was pretty gross.
And I think that, am I wrong that the Mandalorian, like, he's wearing a mask, but I feel him eye roll and like shake his head.
No, you're absolutely right.
Like I can feel it.
Yeah, it was just like this is what I almost died for. Like this isn't some sacred like thing. No, they just wanted to eat it.
Ew.
Like that's crazy.
That was the cherry on top of the Jawa sundae.
Right.
I think I assumed, and the joke is that you are to assume it's like a religious purpose that they want this thing for, or maybe chemically they can do something with it and make some powerful, potions of some kind that Jawas use. But no, they just love eating the yolk and they just chow down on it.
Right then and there, slice that thing open and start drinking it. Yeah, it was pretty
gross. I loved every minute of Java.
So the Mandalorian gets his parts, and in one night, it seems, he fixes the whole damn ship. Did anyone pick up on that? I'm like, what? We put this whole thing back together.
Well, but they made
a sled full of parts in one night.
But Quill made a comment because the Mandalorian was like, "Ugh, this is gonna take us forever," and then he was pretty much like, "Well,
you help,
with that attitude, it's going to."
But I don't know. Maybe there's a couple issues I had with this episode was the knife and putting the ship back together in a matter of hours.
I wonder if anyone else saw this. There was this image that hit me in this reference I drew when they have all the parts from the Jawa, and they're on that little cart where Quill's riding the blurg, pulling the cart with the Mandalorian sitting on it, and all the things are stacked up and tied up there as best as they can as they're carting it back. Yeah, it reminded me of the Grinch.
The Grinch, exactly what I was
cartoon with the big sleigh full of stuff that he's stolen from.
Just throw some antlers on the blurg, and there you got it.
That's actually hilarious.
Oh no, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, that's a lot of parts, and then it's not moving at all. Yeah, it was.
Well, it's funny because
and then the Mandalorian's heart grew 3 sizes.
Yeah, right. Maybe we'll finally get a word from him.
Yeah, that sled just goes down the hill and
in the beginning
delivers presents to all the little Jawas.
When they were like riding on the cart in the blurg and they were going so slow, I was like, why? Yeah. Well, now I realized how many parts there were missing.
It was a whole ship. His ship was skin and bones. I mean, I can't think of a better analogy, but it was just the bones of the ship. I mean, just the frame of it. Yeah. And that's what had me annoyed is like you prepared this thing for like light speed in a couple hours. Like, I mean, we're going through space, folks. Like this ain't just, welding a couple parts here and there. This is pretty intricate stuff. Anyway,
we are not engineers on this podcast.
Definitely not an engineer. But so he gets his parts, he asks Quill, the Ugnaught, he thanks him, for helping him out and says, hey, I could use, a guy of your skill on my team. And he's like, nah, you were my guest. You don't owe me anything. I'm here, did you pick this up at the end? He said, I spent a lot of time, getting out of servitude to be able to just be on my live valley peacefully. Here and live peacefully. Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
I mean, I really wanted him to go with the Mandalorian,
and it may come to that. It may come to
that.
I
hope we see him again.
No, I do too. I
think we will.
He set the whole tone for the show. I've spoken. It was the last. I think it was the last words spoken there in that episode. So everyone loves that guy.
Almost the only words spoken in that episode.
No, you're right. That's absolutely right. So and then we get that ship prepped and we take off.
Where are we going?
That's a great question. we see, he's checking. You notice him checking on him in the ship. And he checks back to see he's trying to shake him to wake him up or whatever, and then little green bean wakes up, and then I think that's the end of the episode.
You know what we skimmed over?
Oh, what did we skim over?
When
That's what I'm known for, skimming over stuff.
No, I don't know. Luke, you might have thought about this too. When they were coming, like the Mandalorian and Kuiil were together going back to the ship, and the Mandalorian, you could tell, had been trying to explain to Kuiil what had happened. Because the Jawas were trying to leave, and they were like, "Forget about it. We're just gonna go."
Yeah.
And then when they deliver the egg, and then they're leaving, he's trying to explain what happened with the Mudhorn and little green bean, and he like can't find the words to explain it. And then Kuiil's like, "So tell me again, like, is he injured?" And then the Mandalorian was like, "Well, not physically."
Not physically.
And then he like doesn't understand like what had happened.
Been a long time.
I was kind of surprised he shared what happened with Kuiil. I thought that showed a lot of trust in him to explain how he got out of it. And I didn't catch that until the second time I watched it. Clearly the dialogue shows he kind of revealed to Kuiil that the Force. He might not have used those words, but the instance where Yoda intervened, the yodeling green bean intervened with the Force. So I was like, he really trusts this Ugnaught.
Yeah.
Well, they talked as if they had a conversation about it before, like off camera.
I think they.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think they had,
Like
because he was like, "Tell me again."
Tell me again, and he can't explain it really. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's not surprising that they can't, because I mean, this is what, 5 years after Jedi, right? And I mean, there's 20 some years there since the Jedi have been around, right? Am my timeline off, Luke? And we've got a couple decades or so since the Jedi have even been around. So the fact that they really don't understand that, it's not surprising. But to us, it's like, how do you not know what that is? But it's like, they don't know what they're dealing with here. This thing is showing powers they've never seen before, and I'm sure there's elements of weirdness that they've seen, but this is probably really out there.
I feel like for Star Wars, it's rare for us as viewers to have more information than the characters in the show have.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is one of those rare moments where I'm like, I know exactly, well, maybe not exactly, but like, I know about this and you don't, and we're going to watch you learn what is happening.
Yeah. And like thinking about it, like Kuiil is probably like, you know what? I'm good. Like this is going to bring a lot of chaos, and I just want to kind of live my life peacefully on my farm, fixing stuff or whatever he's doing. So that's a great point. I had forgotten that they even mentioned what had happened. So yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little more. And it seems like there's more than just, the Mandalorian out looking for this thing, right? I mean, we've got IG-11 who received explicit instructions to take the thing out.
Those Andosians.
Those Trandoshans had well, maybe.
Whoever they are.
Maybe there's Andosia, Transdosia. I don't know. But they were out, it seemed, to kill the thing too. I mean, the way it was going and attacking it before he disintegrated, the Transdoshan.
People in the group were talking about the fob that fell. I think Michael speculated that it actually was probably just another fob on Baby Yoda to track him and bring him in.
I think you've got multiple factions here vying for whatever this is. You got the Empire isn't as prevalent as it used to be, so these could be other crime syndicates. Who knows? You could.
But how do they know about it?
That's a great question. I mean, how does anybody know about it? How does the Empire know about it? I have no idea. But they all probably want it for different purposes. But we've only really seen the Empire. But if the Empire, who knows? The Empire is known to have. I mean, the Emperor himself had, in Legends and even a little bit of canon, he had bounty hunters going after things. He had Vader going after Jedi and Skywalker. He also had Prince Zizor in Legends, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So lots of players here, especially with the Empire out. Well, not necessarily completely out, but diminished. There's probably a lot of players, and then who knows what they want with it. It's going to be really interesting. I don't know how much we're actually going to get into that with 6 episodes. 30, they just get shorter. They're getting shorter. So hopefully they don't, get any shorter than 30 minutes because we really are really enjoying this show. So anything else about the episode itself? Any theories? Luke, you got some theories? You got any other juicy stuff?
Before theories, there was one other little amusing bit that we haven't talked about yet. It was kind of right towards the middle. I think it was after he went to Quill after his failed attempt to attack the sandcrawler, and he's just sitting there talking to him in the dark, and they show some shots of the green bean kind of playing with those frogs, and then it shows he has one in his mouth, and at one point the Mandalorian kind of turns, looks at him, and says, "Spit that out," and he just swallows the thing whole.
I thought that was hilarious.
I've been wondering throughout the episode, kind of like, how is he, caring for a green bean? Is he getting like a bottle? What's going on here?
Yeah. Is he gonna heat a
What
bottle
kind
up?
of sustenance?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he just needs a frog every now and then, and it's good to go.
No, absolutely.
And then he laughed after he like swallowed it. He like burped and he laughed.
Yep, he did. It's just like a little baby.
Or yeah.
It's just a matter of time before we see this thing on his shoulder, like going around. He can't be in that little thing the whole time. That's gonna get boring. He's gonna be on his back, on his shoulder, just like Cal and BD1. And right, BD1. Yep, the droid, or Yoda and Luke. It's gonna happen.
Hey, I said last time he needs to get one of those baby wraps and just wrap him around.
Yes, I gotta say I have been pleasantly surprised with what we're getting. The way this show was kind of fed to us in previews and advertising, it felt, I don't know, it didn't feel like what we're getting. I love what we're getting, but it didn't feel like that's what we were getting. It's so much different than what I expected. I don't know what you guys expected, but I expected something different. But it still feels like a Western because you have this protagonist character who's stumbled upon something he doesn't necessarily want to care about, but eventually ends up caring about it. It's kind of a classic Western theme.
A lot of gunfights.
I
mean, blurg back riding.
Just kind of has some of those classic Western themes still, but it's definitely not. I don't know. What is this? What you guys expected?
No, but I love it.
I do too, but didn't expect it. Luke, is this what you were expecting to see coming out of Disney Plus?
No, I mean the main plot, basically centered around the green bean.
Yeah.
Who could have predicted that? So, I mean, lots of elements of it, I think, are along what I was thinking, but it's got me hooked a lot deeper than I even imagined it could. And going forward, I think, you talk about where are we going next, where you have to get back to the central question of what does he do with it now that he's off world?
Yeah.
First episode was getting the bounty. He's got it. The second episode was really just about establishing what the green bean is capable of and revealing that to the Mandalorian.
Yep.
And along the way we had a really good time and we're really amused by Jawas.
Yes.
But ultimately that was the purpose of this whole episode, was to kind of that reveal. And that's why I think it was a pretty short one, because they didn't want to. You could argue that the rest of it was filler, but it was so much fun filler that but they didn't want it to go on too long. They wanted to get to the point where there's that reveal, and then okay, let's get him off planet. Let's get to the rest of the story, because the rest of the story is not going to happen until he gets off planet. So now we get to the big question of, does he turn this bounty in, or does he do something else with it? So I think maybe he'll that armorer at the little Mandalorian camp seemed to be somewhat of a sage, a like wise person in the tribe, that maybe he'll seek her out. I think it was a female, the way it was portrayed in the voice.
I think so too.
Yep.
Maybe he'll seek her out for advice, maybe, or find some confidant he can talk to before going back to Werner Herzog's group to decide what to do. So I think we're going to get to that situation pretty quickly, and then that will, when you pull in some of the characters when we know are coming down the line with Cara Dune and I can't remember what the character he's playing, but Juan Carlo Esposito actor is coming from Breaking Bad too. So there's still a lot of people we haven't met that need to come into the show. We know are coming, and I think the rest of the episodes are going to center around the issue of what he decides to do with the bounty now he has it.
Yeah, that's actually, we talked about it on the live one, but we haven't seen, I mean, we're going to be halfway through this series and we haven't seen those other characters. Yeah. So, but yeah, this is we've set up that foundation, and yeah, now it's like, what's next? It's really entertaining. It's not what I expected. I really didn't think we were going to see a lot of Force in this, but, and also the Mandalorian himself, I mean, just, you know, he's not as polished as you think of when you think of a Mandalorian, and battle tested and confident and relentless. But he has, you know, his shortcomings too. So it's going to be really interesting to see how he develops and ultimately what he does, because, you know, if this is successful, Baby Yoda gets out of here, where is Baby Yoda in the future? And that's that's a really nice segue into something I want to play. You know, I asked for you guys to send voicemails, and it's fantastic. We've got some audio here from Rob. Rob's been, you know, with us for a while now, and if you know Rob and you know Rob from the group, Rob's got a lot to say.
And we love it.
And I love it. I love every minute of it. And the fact to think that Rob would be able to say what he needed to say in a 3-minute voicemail, it just ain't going to happen. I think his introduction is 3 minutes. So I typically, you know, I wouldn't say, you know, here, you know, spend 10 minutes, 11 minutes, you know, tell us what, you know, you want us, your theories and stuff like that. While I love them, we do try to keep them brief, but I know Rob's got a lot to say. So I said, you know what? He's got 11 minutes of audio here. I'm going to let it happen, and we'll talk about as much as we can. And he wants to talk about Baby Yoda. He wants to talk about a theory he has that he gets to towards the end. And he brings in some interesting references to the Fate of the Jedi series and Abeloth and Final Fantasy, which I've never played in my life, so I'm not going to understand a reference, but Holly can. Luke, did you ever play Final Fantasy back in the day?
One of them for a little bit, but not extensively.
Okay, well, our resident, you know, expert here, Holly, is going to have to explain a little bit of this to us. But so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get this thing going here. And like I said, you know, 11 minutes of Rob. He's got a lot of energy. So no, this isn't WrestleMania. He's got a lot of he's got a lot of wrestling in him. I can feel it. He's got the sound.
So get ready for the energy.
A lot of energy, but he's overall he's such a good guy. He's got a lot to say about Star Wars. So let's go ahead and sink into this.
Ready to bring the pain, flying casual, as I get ready to drop my first audio on you guys. Oh yeah! Little bit of high energy there, but let's get right to it. Mandalorian, great show. We all know this. We've already been talking about it. I want to talk about the Baby Yoda looking thing. All right, whatever species that might be, whatever it might, you know, I'm just getting out of work, and this thing has been in my head all day. So here it goes. Get ready and buckle up, because y'all have never been on a ride that Heat Override provides. Ooh, yeah.
Should have had him do the intro.
Buckle
in every RPG that you've almost played, there's always been good versus evil. Everything in life, almost every battle in life is always good versus evil. I mean, maybe your evil's just trying to get to your next stop if you're a truck delivery guy delivering that coffee. But
amen.
What I saw in this Baby Yoda, and with the timeline, this matches up perfectly. So let's just do a little recourse.
Come on.
Usually role-playing games have a bunch of bad guys or an empire. Empire's used a lot in video games, and they want to cause havoc. They're trying to bring back the ultimate evil. All right, so going back to the Fate series, when they were talking to the Killiks, I think it was the Killiks, about, you know, Abeloth and where she came from. So when they did all the transcripts, all those hieroglyphics that they, you know, were on the walls that the Killiks showed him, it described, you know, the Mortis family, and then Abeloth, and then her coming along, and then her stepping in, and then her ultimately becoming herself. At the end of this, I am pretty sure that they said that evil always comes back every so often. So after Abeloth was caught at the station and was set free, she had already been around. Now, had she become so powerful that she's supposed to come back around? And this is why when you hear or see my posts, why I'm trying to dissect the next level of where Star Wars is going to go. It's not just about Episode 9 for me. It's about the direction it's going to go.
Let's go.
And the direction I feel that a lot of people may feel, and it may not be true, it may never come true, is I want to see this head towards the Yuuzhan Vong War.
Let's go.
Even though this is supposedly a little past it with Luke not being there, they can re-script everybody into this situation. Getting back to Abeloth, who I have already said, I think Emperor Palpatine may be the movie's version of Abeloth. Abeloth was powerful. She handled fighting all of the Sith, Luke, and Ben Skywalker all at once. She won.
Spoiler.
She literally only ever lost when it came to that point where she was like, I'm out of here, or they got away. But Abeloth, in the final stages of her battle, may have lost to Sabasimbatine, and of course, she was in a machine. She had tons of avatars. And right now, Palpatine coming back to life as a clone is plausible, but is Palpatine that strong to where he could be like Abeloth and be able to take avatars? And maybe his avatar was Snoke, or maybe Snoke was just its own person. But where this lies in why I'm bringing this up about role-playing games, video games, is that if you go back, I just got done beating Secret of Mana. The hero
I have no idea
was
what that
the
is.
son of the Mana Tree and the knight that's supposed to protect the Mana Tree. Ultimately, that was his mom, and she comes to him at the end. Now, the one thing about the remake that the remake did well was add video scenes, so there was a lot deeper story to this. That being said, now you have to step back and think about what I just said. So, if there's always an ultimate evil that always is reborn, and in Secret of Mana, it was the Mana Beast. It came back, it became infuriated, and you had to fight it at the end after you had dispatched all the evil humans that were trying to bring it back and cause the world destruction. At the end of the game, everything is set back into stone, and one of the characters goes away because she's a sprite, which is made of magic, and thus magic disappeared from the world at the end of this game. Now,
Holly, is that ringing
the
a bell?
hero was born,
For the Secret of Mana?
and
I didn't have
this seems to
That's
be
okay.
a trait
Old
that
Nintendo
even in
game,
the
though.
Final Fantasy series has come true, that a hero has been born. You can't really, I said something about Cloud during the live feed last night, but I think this is more like, some of the other Final Fantasies, to where, they're born and they're there for a reason, and the reason is to take out the ultimate evil. Maybe we're overlooking all of this because we heard about there's going to be a spoiler or something in this first one that was supposed to, maybe be a spoiler. And now, would a little baby Yoda be a spoiler at
Come on.
that age? And what if he never makes it to the
Come on.
age that,
Yeah.
that he would
He'd
need
still
to
have
be
to be
at
here.
to eventually fight Palpatine? What did I just say? I said fight
Come on, Rob.
Palpatine. Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
Because Rey and Kylo are in this world where they're trying to battle and find themselves. And this little baby Yoda, if it survives the Mandalorian and grows up, now we don't know Yoda years. We don't know if at age 50 or 100 that it's still a teenager and that it's still weak. So again, this is a hypothetical synopsis, and this is also me trying to foreplan the future of where they need to go with this. Now, if the last Skywalker was Luke and Leia, and Kylo goes on his way as a solo, it just seems that they're going to be overmatched at some point. And if they're overmatched, we all remember Yoda walking in
Come on.
to save Anakin
Come on.
And Obi-Wan from Count Dooku. And we all know that Yoda has gone on record saying that the dark side is always a blur. I mean, not word for word, but it's always will catch you off guard. And he talks all these ways, and he talks in riddles, but over those 900 some years that he was alive, what did he do? This is something that all of us Star Wars people have never, ever, ever known.
Yeah.
But we need to know. Now we see this.
We want to know.
Baby
Come on.
Yoda, what is this? Is this the rebirth? Because if Palpatine could bring himself back, Yoda should have been able to bring himself back.
I said
And the
reincarnated.
Mandalorian is, so to say, 5 years or so after Return of the Jedi. So if that would be about the same, that would be about the timeline that you would need a hero reborn, so that the hero becomes strong and older to fight the ultimate evil that always comes back, let's just say every 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the books are very vague about what happened in the Old Republic and a lot of Yoda's years. We've only got glimpses. But Star Wars has always been your classic good versus evil. And now we see this little baby Yoda. What does it play in Episode 9? What is its role? To me, I think it comes in on the last battle. Why not? I find it very far-fetched that this is even going to happen, and I really do think that Kylo and Rey ultimately double-team Emperor Palpatine
Phrasing.
in
there,
destroying him. Just like it took a lot of people to kill many avatars of Abeloth.
Yeah.
And that only, in her death, when she went away, they had to defeat her in the shadows beyond. They had, or beyond shadows,
Yep.
whatever. And they had to beat her in physical form and in computer form, in multiple physical forms. We're talking all these battles that went on. I should have probably said spoiler alert.
Yeah, that's all right.
That just
That's
went
how
on.
we do
So
it,
why
Rob.
not a smaller version? Why not they just do that? And why not Rey and Kylo kill that version of Palpatine, and then Luke and Anakin, as what would be really badass, Luke and Anakin kill Palpatine in the Beyond Shadows, thus putting Palpatine's soul into a slumber for, let's say, 1,000 years. This is Rob, Heat Override, ready to bring the pain for you guys any day of the week. My ideas may be crazy, but
Not at
hey, if you ever played any role-playing game, you always know. You could even go back to Final Fantasy VI, Terra. Terra
Way
was
back.
half human, half Esper, and she was strong, but she was born that way. She was born to eventually defeat Gestalt. And that's how we're going to end it. I hope everybody had a good time. I know this is very wordy, but there's a lot, and I could not put this in text, because if I did, you wouldn't understand it, because I talk way too fast.
I'd have a
and
hard
it does
time
not
reading that.
translate to
Yes.
text well at all. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for the airtime, Michael and Holly. And may the Force be with you. Ooh, yeah.
So if you got through that, you see Rob's got a lot of energy. I mean, a lot. I don't know why I didn't have him do an intro for the podcast.
Next time.
Well, you know what I'm saying? So, a lot. I'm going to have to take Rob's word for the Final Fantasy stuff, because I've never played it. But the heart of what he's getting at is, at least what I'm understanding, is that, because we have the ultimate baddie that's Palpatine, that he's making a connection with Abeloth and what they did in the Fate of the Jedi series. And, she's come back many times, and it's taken, Ben, Luke, the sword of the Jedi, to destroy this evil. That he's thinking that this could play out in Episode 9, or maybe even, in another 10 years, we see Palpatine in some other form come back, and it's going to take these people coming together to do that. So he thinks, realistically, he thinks maybe it's just going to be, Rey, Kylo defeating Palpatine. Maybe there's some Anakin influence, something like that in the story. But something, that's really interesting is that now we've got this incredibly, we assume, powerful Force user now in the Mandalorian that's been around for 50 years, which is before any Star Wars that we know of. So is this baby Yoda, is it created from the Force, to counter what, it knows the species? It could, be effective towards fighting evil in years to come, and it's going to plant that seed and knows that evil is coming and is going to require that balance. Are we going to get that interconnected, Luke?
It's
a lot
so
to
hard
process.
to say. What I've thought of throughout this is that we've got another Ahsoka situation on our hands because,
God, yeah,
and think, I wonder if Dave Filoni just loves doing this to people.
absolutely.
Because they drop Ahsoka into the Clone Wars animated movie that debuts in 2008.
Yeah.
And it's this story that's taking place in between episodes 2 and 3. So we know where these characters, Anakin and Obi-Wan, are going, and the Jedi in general, and the galaxy in general. And that's very similar to where we are now. With this show takes place after Return of the Jedi, before the sequel trilogy. So we see where the galaxy was in Return of the Jedi. We know where the galaxy is going.
Yeah.
With the sequel trilogy, and they plop this major character, major Force wielder onto us, and everyone was like under the assumption Ahsoka must die through the course of this series because she can't be around in Revenge of the Sith because there's no sign or mention of her in Revenge of the Sith or whatever. And they came up with a extremely clever, extremely well done, beautiful storyline for her where she leaves the Order. And those few episodes where she leaves the Order in the conclusion are some of the most powerful animated episodes of a TV show I've ever seen, and are great to watch. So now we're left with this Yoda yodeling green bean dropped on us, and everyone starts going, well, where is this guy?
Where's he
in
been?
Sequel trilogy? Where is he?
Yeah.
He must not make it there. So, or maybe he does make it there because we haven't seen episode 9 yet.
Yeah.
I love Rob's energy and enthusiasm for this theory, and it makes sense that you need this powerful powerful light to battle the powerful dark. Like he's talking about that dichotomy.
Mm-hmm.
I would be shocked if Green Bean makes it in to the sequel trilogy to episode 9.
Yeah.
As that directly of a tie-in. But yeah, now, gosh, let the speculation run rampant.
I think
it's gonna be Snoke all over again.
Right.
I just wonder. So
yeah, look, come on, Holly.
Okay.
I know you got a lot to say because I was coming to you next. Well, phrasing that sounded terrible. Go ahead.
I have a lot to say.
Yeah,
and
you do.
I just think, okay, so our yodeling green bean is 50 years old, very clearly still in the infancy stage of his life. We know
That's right.
Yoda was 900 years old when we met him, right?
Yeah, around there.
Around there, yeah. Well, doesn't our episode 9, isn't it only 20-ish years after The Mandalorian?
So for some perspective, at the time of The Mandalorian, Ben Solo is a baby.
Yeah.
Rey, Finn, haven't even been created yet. Ben Solo is just a baby.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another. Ben is his early 20s, I think, in the new sequel trilogy. So yeah, about 20-some years.
Yes, because Rey's 18, 19.
Yep.
So to me, I would think that green bean Yoda would still be in that infancy stage.
Yeah.
Rob, I'm so sorry. I'm not negating.
No, I don't think you are negating.
But I think that, because I've thought about that too.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, we've really latched onto that line in episode 1 about the 50 years old.
Yeah.
And had some discussions with some friends about that as well, because there's so much discussion around that and feeling it doesn't make sense, because if you extrapolate out to 900 years old, if 50 is like this infant toddler type being that we see, oh well, then Yoda really wasn't that old.
Yeah.
It but that's assuming sort of a linear aging or a linear development. And maybe he's not really 50 years old. Maybe that information
True.
isn't totally accurate
Yep.
that they had for the bounty. So there's that. We don't know if the information was correct. And then secondly, we don't know how this species develops. Maybe they don't develop hardly at all for 40 years. Then they are like this baby like thing for 10 years.
Yeah.
And then in another 30, 50 years, they're like completely
Mature.
grown adult, mature. So by the time he's 100, they're completely mature adult. But again, like Holly's saying, that's not maybe quite enough time to get to 9, but who knows? Maybe at 70, this species is fully developed, and that would be enough time to get to 9.
And I don't think you guys are even like disagreeing with him, because in my eyes, this character could be the seedling of what's to come.
And that's what Rob was saying.
In the future. Not even necessarily this sequel trilogy.
You have this storyline where there's always this evil force, and usually it's the same evil force, but it keeps being defeated by the same good force. And then they'll go away, and then they come back, whether it's like reincarnation or like in some other form, but it's still the same bad force. And ultimately, like, you have the bad guy, as you say, the big baddie. Yeah. And then you have your good guy, which is your hero. Every single time, that hero serves one purpose, and that is to get rid of or diminish or put away that force. And so maybe, it could be setting you up for something far past the Rise of Skywalker that we just don't know about yet.
The Rise of Skywalker could leave us in darkness for 5 to 10 years.
Please don't. But it could.
Shocker. I don't think it will, but it could. They may not even meet the challenge. It could be way bigger than any of them thought. Would that be a good end to the Skywalker saga?
Nah.
Probably not. It wouldn't be traditional with what Star Wars has done. But that's not to say in 600 years there won't be some big evil. And you know what? Maybe we need the Jedi Order back. Maybe we need Green Bean to create his own order. I mean... Maybe
Green Bean's the last Jedi. We just didn't know.
What? I mean, the question is actually getting more complicated now, because, you're adding other Force. You got Cal, which is a whole nother conversation. I thought that me and my naive mind thought that we could fit in a Fallen Order discussion with episode 2 here. But that's going to have to be another time. But you have all these, like Luke mentioned it, episodes ago, like we're really packing in a lot in these little windows of time. We're throwing in characters that we didn't have before, and that complicates the story. It complicates maybe where we thought we were going, and maybe it fits into it nicely, maybe it doesn't, or maybe these people just don't make it, like in Rogue One. You're like, well, where are these guys going to be? Well, they all died. Yeah. Spoiler if you didn't see Rogue One, but so this Yoda baby may not make it. Cal may not make it. I haven't finished the game yet. I have no idea. So we could just be like Rob said, we could be, I love Fate of the Jedi. I love the Abeloth, I love that whole story. I love that you really see heroes step up like Ben Skywalker, with his father just so proud of him and what he's become. And he's just like, he's a better Jedi than I'll ever be. It allows for those moments that she's so powerful. And I hope we'll see something like that here in the Rise of Skywalker. And if we don't, maybe we will get into kind of an EU like, part of the galaxy here in 10 years if they bring back the Star Wars saga, maybe not with the Skywalkers, but with something else, an Order, or some other protagonist. So I love what he's saying. I love he's making the connections, because some character, like Yoda, this powerful, this young, in this window of time, could have big consequences.
Yeah.
And they're out there seeking allies, and they don't know that they maybe need this little, like now 60-some-year-old baby. or whatever, 70 something, whatever it's going to be, teenager. Or maybe he shows up, he's doing backflips, and he's taking out, the Knights of Ren. Who knows?
Can you imagine
I don't know.
a sassy teenage Yoda-ling?
Like he's Groot. he just becomes a really annoying teenager.
What a jerk.
Yeah, he's just using the Force in an annoying manner to make
Slam
himself
his door a
cereal or
million
something,
times.
or slam his door
Yeah.
like a jerk. You never know. It's gonna be interesting.
Hey, it's being marketed as a Star Wars universe spoiler.
It all matters. Yeah, I mean that they said that. Whether that's, hey, Yoda species is still around, y'all didn't know that, or holy cow, you didn't know there's this insanely powerful, Force user out there that isn't Rey, that isn't Kylo Ren, that isn't Cal, and it isn't Kanan, it isn't any other these new characters that you now know. It's someone else, and it's just like Yoda. Come on,
What?
come on.
What if green beans at Luke's training temple when Kylo?
Holy
cow! That could be a possibility.
Wow.
That would be awesome.
Sorry, Luke, you got a little silence by my bedtime alarm telling me, hey, Michael, go to bed. Forgot to silence that. So you said maybe he was at the academy. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that could be a possibility with the timelines of things.
Ooh.
That
Can you imagine?
Luke has wherever his setup was. The images we see in The Last Jedi, the flashbacks to that place, and the training academy and everything. Yeah, maybe Ben Solo killed the Yodeling on his way out the door.
Wow. So
That's how it gets tied.
no, that's
yeah.
actually genius, Luke. Maybe he has been identified. Maybe he goes to Luke's academy and he escapes, and maybe we'll get some standalone Disney Plus series or movie about Yeedle or whatever the hell they're saying the name is online. Who knows? That's a fantastic idea. Or maybe maybe this baby Yoda is why Ben Solo is so pissed off because he became Luke's main apprentice. Wow, he's the one that's gonna
Luke was playing favorites.
save the galaxy, and Ben's like, this stupid green guy, no, and he wrecks the whole place. Is it? Who knows? It's possible. But I like the fact that he comes in there at the temple, and maybe if we see a flashback, we see a little green bean running away or something. He's in the rubble or something with Luke. Who knows?
The frog leg hanging out of his mouth.
That's right.
He was in the cafeteria when Ben lost his shit.
He's like, thank God I was in the cafeteria. Oh my God, that would be fantastic. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out. I don't know if I want him, out in the galaxy after all this, or if I want him to come to a tragic end, and kind of with Rogue One. And we know with some of our, Rebels friends. No spoilers for Holly.
No spoilers for me, please.
So I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I wanted to give, Rob that time. Like I said, that guy's got a lot of energy. I love him for it. And he loves Star Wars, and I knew he couldn't get it in 3 minutes, so we went with the audio file. So Rob, thanks for sending us that. And you guys send in your own too, I love hearing your guys' energy. You heard Rob there, passionate about Star Wars just like us in his own way. And he's in that group. He's in that Facebook group. So if you like that energy, there's a lot of it in there. So go in there and speculate with him. But this, I don't know. The Mandalorian's been a huge surprise. I feel like we could talk about it for another half hour or so and really dig even deeper into it. But we all got work tomorrow. I know. That's just... no, that's not a good thing.
The opposite of how we feel.
That's not a
Womp
good thing.
womp.
Don't have a good sound effect for that. But so it's we're gonna talk about Fallen Order. I've got to find a way to bring Luke into the discussion. If that's him just coming over for 8 hours and beating the game
8
himself,
hours.
or if I'm gonna kind of feed him the story as we go. I gotta find a way to get him that story. He's a busy man right now. We're blessed to have him on the podcast, so we're gonna get him up to speed on Fallen Order. If I've got to watch his kids for him, just so he can come play my PS4. So we're gonna get him up to speed on that. We're a good few hours into the game, right? I mean, it's solid.
It's awesome.
It's a
But
solid
I asked
game.
everybody how much game time there was, and everyone just said, well, they say you won't be disappointed.
Won't be disappointed.
So who knows? We're probably like 1% in.
Weeks and weeks of gaming. I'm down, but it has been fantastic, and there's a lot to talk about that too with Cal and his story. So we'll definitely get into that in episodes to come. But we've got another week of The Mandalorian, and I mean, I people were forgetting about episode 9. Now, we haven't even we've talked about it a little bit, but what is today? The 17th?
Yep.
I mean, we are coming down to the wire
Got a
here,
month.
almost a month. Yeah, so we are coming close. So you guys send in your theories, just like Rob did, send us an email. That would be amazing. We'll play that live and break that down as much as we can, or send us an email at flyingcasualcast@gmail.com. And if everyone would like, we could start sharing, some of the theories going on in the Facebook group. I'd like that to be private conversations with folks, but if they want it to be discussed here, let us know. We can surely do that. There's a lot of conversation going on there, so we'd have to pick kind of what we want to kind of focus on the most, but a lot of good stuff going on there.
There's so much conversation going on in the group right now too.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're listening to this and you're not in the group, go to our Facebook page and check it out. There's a button. You can visit the group and ask to join.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun. Wade's in there. Probably going to ask you a few entry, questions. Make sure you're not a robot and that you're an actual Star Wars fan. No, this is not a Game of Thrones podcast. No, it's not a Star Trek podcast.
And yes, we can see your responses when you fill out the questionnaire.
Yes, we can. And so hopefully they are, they're good. But so a lot to come here in the coming weeks with Star Wars. None of it has really disappointed yet. So I don't know about you guys, but this has been a great conversation. Love having Holly here and Luke to chat about all of it with me. I'm going to go hop on and play some more PS4 and hopefully beat this game. So we'll see y'all next week.